I call the 2421st meeting of the Milwaukie City Council to order. This meeting is being held in person at City Hall and by video conference. The public may participate in this meeting by coming to City Hall or joining the Zoom webinar. The meeting is being broadcast live on the city's YouTube channel and Comcast Cable Channel 30 within city limits. There will be opportunities for the public to speak during this meeting. If you would like to address council, you may come to City Hall or participate via Zoom. If you are interested in speaking, please let staff know by filling out a yellow comment card for those at City Hall or emailing ocr@milwaukieoregon.gov for those on Zoom. When it is time to take public comments, staff will monitor the comment cards, email inbox, and Zoom participant list and chat. We will take comments in the order they are received and seen. Comments may be emailed to ocr@milwaukieoregon.gov. We ask that all Zoom participants who intend to speak label their Zoom username to show their first and last names for the record. Spanish translation services are available upon request. The public is asked to request translation and other meeting accessibility services at least 48 hours before the meeting. For more information, contact the city recorder at 503-786-7502. Servicios de traducción en español está disponible cuando sea solicitado. Se pide al público que solicite servicios de traducción y otros servicios de accesibilidad por lo menos 48 horas antes de la reunión. Para obtener más información, llama al secretario de la ciudad a 503-786-7502. Translation services are also available in other languages. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The City of Milwaukie respectfully acknowledges that our community is located on the ancestral homeland of the Clackamas people. In 1855, the surviving members of the Clackamas signed the Willamette Valley Treaty, also known as the Kalapuya Etc. Treaty, with the federal government in good faith. We offer our respect and gratitude to the indigenous people of this land. And with that, we will go to our announcements. The city's annual board and committee recruitment continues through March. Participate in the city's work and get involved by applying to serve on a board or committee. From the Equity Steering Committee to the Library Board, there are many interesting areas, projects, and programs to get involved in. Applications will be accepted until April 1st. And are people getting a postcard? Is that gone out?
We're still working with our colleagues on city staff. We've had a little hiccup.
Oh, okay.
The same hiccup that I think the pilot has experienced in terms of that. We're still working on it.
Okay, okay. Join us at the grand opening for Milwaukee's 3 new parks this Saturday, March 8th. The Balfour Park celebration will begin at 12 and end at 2. The Bowman Bray Park celebration will begin at 12:30 and end at 2:30. And the Scott Park celebration will begin at 1:30 and end at 3:30. Formal remarks will take place at 2 p.m. at Scott Park. Each event will include family-friendly entertainment, activities, and free refreshments. Catch live performances from the band Ants, Ants, Ants at Scott Park and giant lawn games, including cornhole and other games at Bowman Bray Park. Join the Wetland Conservancy's monthly cleanups at Minthorn Spring. The next event is this Saturday from 9:30 a.m. to noon. This month, volunteers will be maintaining trails, clearing weeds, and mulching a variety of native plants. Check the city calendar for a link to RSVP. Weekly outreach is offered at the Ledding Library by staff and volunteers from the City of Milwaukee, Love One, and 4D Recovery. Anyone is welcome to drop in on Tuesday mornings for assistance with basic needs, referrals, and resources. Join the Milwaukie Parks Foundation, the Island Station NDA, and the Friends of Elk Rock Island and Spring Park to help remove ivy and other invasive plants on Elk Rock Island while also picking up litter on Saturday, March 15th from 9:30 a.m. to noon. Wear your mud gear, bring gloves, your water bottle, and your favorite digging or clipping tools. Event organizers will have snacks, trash bags, and trash pickers. Volunteers meet at 19th and Sparrow at 9:30 a.m. Join a free community event that brings skilled volunteers and people with broken items together on Saturday, March 15th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Ledding Library. Some examples of items that can be brought to the event to be repaired include clean clothes and textiles, small electronics, small home appliances, and jewelry. Some repairs may not be available at every event. To confirm that an item you want to bring can be repaired, email sustainability@clackamas.us with a description of your item. For more information about each of these events and others, please visit the city's homepage at milwaukeeoregon.gov or call 503-786-7555. I did want to mention, I think tomorrow night at the library is a poetry event called All Mutanabi Street starts here, and it's a good event. It's a poetry reading with roots in, I believe it's Iraq. But anyway, I've been to the event in years past, and it's a good event featuring people from the Islamic community. Okay, haiku. So this haiku seems perfectly appropriate these days. It actually was submitted back in November or December, but it couldn't be more timely. All I want is peace, yet all I see madness until the truth comes. I believe this was submitted by a Milwaukee High School student who chose to remain anonymous. And with that, I will invite City Recorder Scott Stauffer and representatives of the Milwaukee Historical Society to present our proclamation on Women's History Month.
Good evening, welcome. My name is Steve Bennett. I'm president of the Milwaukee Historical Society, and I'm here simply to turn the stage over to the two women behind me. But I wanted to at least say that the Historical Society would not exist were it not for the strong women who were so much a part of it for so many years. It goes all the way back to Edith Hazen, who was the first woman elected to city council and later was president of the society, and carried on by our beloved Krista McDonald, Madeline Bowl, Enid and Adele Briggs, who kept that museum going for years. So we are all indebted to that, and I just wanted to make sure that that was stated. With me tonight, Siona Belay and Linda Carr. They were going to speak for a moment on the importance of this proclamation, and Linda will do the reading. So
Great.
Turn it over to them.
Great. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Siona Belay. I'm honored to be here tonight. I am a refugee from East Africa who has lived in the U.S. since I was 13. And over the course of the years, I was able to learn English and establish a small business here downtown Milwaukee. And just next month, we're going to have a grand opening for a nonprofit that celebrates the construction workers. And that's going to be empowering especially for the female construction workers. And I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Carr. I'm also with the Milwaukie Historical Society. I believe both Sienna and I are on the board. And I'm here to read the proclamation, the Women's History Month proclamation.
Okay.
Whereas each year since 1987, the United States observes Women's History Month, a month-long celebration every March to acknowledge the struggles and contributions of women of every race, class, and ethnic background. And whereas women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of society by constituting a significant portion of the labor force and unpaid labor working inside and outside the home. And whereas women courageously make up a majority of our essential workforce in several occupations, including healthcare, education, agriculture, social, and administrative services. And whereas Milwaukie women have played a unique role through the history of the city by providing most of the volunteer labor force of the city, serving our country in the national and state armed forces, and the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions. And whereas women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movements, and especially the peace movement. And whereas despite these contributions, the role of women in Milwaukie, Oregon, and our national histories have been overlooked and undervalued.
Now, therefore, I, Lisa Beatty, Mayor of the City of Milwaukie, a municipal corporation in the County of Clackamas in the state of Oregon, and with the full support and sponsorship of the Milwaukie Historical Society, do hereby proclaim March 2025 to be Women's History Month in Milwaukie, and do recommend its observance with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Thank you, guys. I did want to ask, please send us a little more information about your nonprofit when you get a chance. I'd like to learn more about that. And you also are working on a gallery? Are you still?
Yeah, so that's part,
Okay.
downtown.
Okay, great,
Excellent.
great,
Thank you.
great. Thank you. Okay, there's Jason. Okay. 2024, oh, we have to have our devices up and running for this. 2024 Volunteer of the Year Award, presented or coordinated by our Community Engagement Coordinator, Jason Wax.
Good evening. Good to see everybody. I'm back again this year, as I have for quite a few years, to help you through the process of choosing our 2024 Volunteer of the Year. So I'm going to go through a little bit of history about it and whatnot, and then we'll get to the vote. So the Volunteer of the Year Award began back in 2012. I've been involved with actually all of them, I believe, since 2015. And there's all of our winners. The last four are pictured there on the right. And yeah, we've just had a really wonderful history of having great people both nominated and receiving the award. This year, the process for nominations began on November 27th, and we collected nominations on Engage Milwaukie until February 12th. We had 10 individual community members nominated, and then 2 of them were nominated as individuals and as a team. And as you know, we have actually had team winners a couple times over the years, so that is a possibility if council chooses to go in that direction. I did want to mention one of the nominees, this is the first time this has happened, was actually a winner in the past. So David Ashenbrenner did win in 2015 as well. But we don't have any rules that say that you can't win twice. So no one just hasn't done that yet. So the criteria for choosing the winner is anyone who resides in Milwaukie or members of a nonprofit organization or business that serves the Milwaukie community, looking at longevity of service to the community, some contribution of volunteer service in 2024, service within the city limits. And then some contribution to a city-related activity like a board or committee or commission, a neighborhood district association, et cetera. Not necessarily required, but it's something that definitely, if you look at the history of it, most of the folks had some sort of, involvement in a board or committee or some other city-related endeavor. How do we thank the winners? They're recognized at our annual volunteer appreciation dinner. This year, we're planning to do that on June 5th. And that dinner is, all the members of our board and committees and NDAs are invited to that, along with the winner and whomever they'd like to invite. They get the choice of bringing one or more folks to that event. We feature the Volunteer of the Year in the pilot. This should probably be May or June, depending on exactly, other priorities that we might have for those months. We definitely do some social media posts, and we're going to add them to a Volunteer of the Year plaque, which we're actually creating a new plaque. So we're kind of designing a new one so it's not up now. If you look at City Hall, you probably can't find it. It's actually at my cube. But we'll get a new one made. We want to make it a little bit more, we just want to improve it a little bit. So we're just taking it and giving it a little bit of a revision. That's really the quick about the history or the criteria. Is there any questions at all about that? I know plenty of folks on council have been through this before.
It's a small thing, Jason. I'm adding it to my calendar now. What time is the dinner on the 5th?
It is the 6 o'clock to 8:30.
Sounds
typically, and it'll be at North Clackamas Park. We had ideas to move it to Bob's Red Mill this year, but which we've had it there in the past, but we can't do it there this year. So we're at the park again, and it's been a great venue for us. So I will definitely get more information about that out to everybody soon. So at this point, last year we started kind of a new tradition, is kind of having each counselor talk about a couple of the candidates, kind of bring them to light before we vote on the winner. And so I guess at that point, we could kick that off now if you'd like.
You sorted us alphabetically, so does it start, do you have the first part of the alphabet?
I think so.
Okay, then we'll just go.
I think I went left to right as I'm facing you, I believe is what I tried to do, but maybe I didn't do that.
I usually identify as left. Yeah. Well, I had two nominees, David Aschenbrenner and Jamie Berry this year. And so I'll say this about David. He was here a couple weeks ago to talk about, gosh, I can't even remember what our work session was a few weeks ago. But he was here to contribute his thoughts. And I remember him saying, I'm retired now, so I have all the time in the world. And in my mind, I thought, how is it even humanly possible, David, that you would have more time than you have already contributed to the city? He has been a part of Celebrate Milwaukie, Inc. and the Farmers Market for at least 20 years. He's amazingly involved in the work around the farmers market, the work with the Historical Society, work in his neighborhood association district. So it's been a pleasure to get to know him better. I really appreciate Frank, who nominated him this year. And there's one part of the nomination form that I wanted to call out that says that he's probably donated thousands of volunteer hours to the city. And I think that that's probably an undercount because he's really been a great fixture of the city of Milwaukie. And, as you had mentioned, Jason, he won in 2015. So he's no stranger to being nominated to this process. So David, if you're watching, thank you for your service. Thank you for all that you do in Milwaukie. The second person that I have brings a huge smile to my face because Jamie Berry is someone with the biggest heart that I have ever met. She's been a part of Feed the Hungry at St. John's for 34 years. And if you haven't heard of this, this is something that the church does to provide food for folks that are struggling with being unhoused or living outdoors, or just really to build some community. And they're always looking for volunteers. She's there probably every week. I mean, it's really amazing. But the way that I connected with Jamie was through the Bottle Drop Ladies. And if you can actually even search Facebook for Bottle Drop Ladies and you'll find their page. She's been involved there for about 4 years. And they meet up every Wednesday, I think it's every Wednesday, at the Bottle Drop over by Great American and Stronger Skate Park, and really connect with unhoused neighbors. They provide food, they provide resources, and most importantly, I think they just provide this connection that's grounded in just unconditional love. They treat everyone as their equals, and she's just really, really special. So I was really excited to see her name added to my list of nominations. So I'll end there and pass it on to Councilor Kozer-Body.
Thank you, Counselor. I had the honor and pleasure of being able to, I don't want to say introduce because everybody knows them, but I guess introduce as Volunteer of the Year, Pam Denham and Terry Geyer-Brindle, and also them as a group because they were also nominated as a group. And just some things about Pam. Pam was probably one of the first, Pam and Milo were probably one of the first people that I've met when my family and I moved to Milwaukee. I have been nothing short of impressed with Pam and what she's done. I see her everywhere, all around the city, at every event, doing something for the city. So it's very impressive track record. Just some points that I want to make on some of the nominations I found very helpful and actually impressive. Pam has served on PSAC as the Island Station rep for about 8 years. She's helped develop the SAFE program. She is the Land Use Committee Chair for her NDA. She's been doing that for 8 years. She's the Milwaukie Environmental Stewards Group. She's one of the founding people, and guess who the other one is, right? Has put on the sustainability fair and has helped, was helpful and instrumental in banning plastic bags here in Milwaukee. She's also served and volunteered on CERT for over 7 years. Some of the comments that I thought were pretty impressive as well. She's seen as a lifelong dedicated volunteer to the city of Milwaukee. Profoundly impacted Milwaukee's livability. I thought that was a comment that couldn't be understated because she has. And she's contributed to habitat restoration and visitor engagement for 10 years. She's also a member of Bike Milwaukee, which has done an incredible job going around Milwaukee to new local businesses and patronizing them. And it was also quoted that she should receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. So that's just put in a nutshell how amazing Pam is. As for Terry, she's just as amazing. Also, the other founding member of the Milwaukie Environmental Stewards Group, works tirelessly to promote the causes of the Environmental Stewards Group. Also helps run the Sustainability Fair with Pam. They've put that whole thing on together. It's been an incredible success here in Milwaukee, and it's only grown since they started. She organizes and runs the styrofoam collection site at Milwaukie Floral, which I know that's a huge deal. I mentioned she runs the sustainability fair. Terry also was instrumental and helped ban plastic bags as well. So her and Pam really were community leads on that. Been a volunteer since moving here in Milwaukee. So that's just to go to show you, she started helping as soon as she got here. So that's incredible. And brought issues to council and got the bags banned. So again, mention that again, because that was a huge deal. I don't think people really realize how hard it is to really ban plastic bags in the city. She is a retired school teacher as well, spent 30 years in the classroom, so you can see where a lot of her care comes from. And one of the quotes that I picked out of the nomination papers that I thought was amazing is that she puts the same care, concern, professionalism, and respect for others, I can't read my own writing, into her work as a volunteer as she did in the classroom. So I thought that's very impressive. It doesn't stop, right? She's who she is in the classroom as she is to the city. So I appreciate that. Now I got both of them. Now this is kind of hard because I just talked about each of them and they kind of have a lot of crossover. So this might be a little bit short, but they provide a huge benefit for the city for almost a decade together, working together in the Milwaukie Environmental Stewards Group, participating in all these events, again, helping council on their policies. They've been champions of the environment and actions that better our community, reduce our waste consumption, and educate and inform our residents for improving our environment. And their devotion has been without accolades for the last 8 years. So that's impressive, to keep doing the work and not be awarded for it, so to speak. That's a true volunteer, and that's the true heart of what Milwaukee is all about. So they are the embodiment of our community vision.
Thank you. The first person I have to introduce to the community is Joshua Freeman, although people who are active in Milwaukie probably know Josh. Josh is the vice chair of our arts committee. He was also on our planning commission for a couple of years, although he stepped away from that last year. And he's been a key organizer in our Juneteenth events, which we've held for the last few years. And one of the Juneteenth proclamations, I think it was just last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, he brought his two young children, Miles and Naomi, and together they read the proclamation, made some remarks, and then read the proclamation. And the person who wrote their nomination really called that moment out as centering, empowering, and listening to our community members. It is one of the more memorable proclamations for me. We had one other Pride proclamation where we also had a family come together to present the proclamation, and that's always kind of special. And with the Juneteenth event, Josh has done all, sort of everything, the fundraising, the finding vendors, the organization, getting the permits and all of that. And also it was called out in the nomination that he was really cautious when people asked to participate. He was cautious about, not allowing sort of tokenism and being careful about who was allowed to sort of have a booth, and that their motivations and what they were going to do with their booth was all in the right place. So Josh has been a real active member of our community. You see him at a lot of our events with his family. So he's one deserving nominee. And the thing about this process is usually, I know most of the nominees, but there's a few I don't know. And the next one I'm introducing is somebody I don't personally know. Her name is Darlene Fritsch, but she was nominated for her work over 35 years with the Elks and Lions Holiday Food Support Program. And I think a lot of people don't know about that program. I frankly wouldn't know about that program if I hadn't been on the Farmers Market Board, because the Farmers Market Board used to give money to that every year. I imagine they still do. But that's a group of volunteers from the Lions and Elks Club who distribute something like 400 turkeys and food boxes to families at the Christmas holidays. And also, I believe there's a toy drive component to that as well. So it's an event that supports a lot of, they're not all in Milwaukie, it's sort of the wider North Clackamas area, but it supports a lot of families in our community. I will call out here, apparently Darlene has retired from her role with this, but her son and daughter-in-law are carrying it on. I have heard from someone that they are in need of warehouse space. So if anybody happens to be listening out there who has some underutilized warehouse space, I think come like October, November, December, they need warehouse space to stage all the donations and get it all organized into boxes and stuff. And if you happen to have warehouse space, contact me and I'll try to put you in touch. Darlene great support for our community in her 35 years working with the Lions Club on this project to make families in need have happier holidays. So it was great to learn about Darlene and the nomination.
I'm really excited about the two folks that we've got here. I think they've done some amazing stuff for the city. I'll start with a name that will be familiar to a lot of folks. Virginia Pye has been an amazing volunteer, especially in our park space. She's been buzzing around the city, trying to make Bee City USA happen. I remember when I first met Virginia, she was down at the farmer's market where she often will man the PAR booth. And we talked at length about our park system. As I was looking for things to say about Virginia, I came across some meeting minutes from PARB, and it has a fun moment there where Virginia introduced herself and she named her favorite park. And if you take one guess, I bet you could guess it, it's Milwaukie Bay Park. And she has been doing so much to really improve our parks assets as a city. And it's something that we've now enshrined as a goal in no small part because of the work that she's been doing for decades in her time in the city. So I think that she has just had some amazing contributions to our city through all of her various boards and contributions, and I'm really excited to see her honored in this way. The other person is a name that I was not familiar with. Her name is Amy Arden. She is someone who maybe I hadn't heard about, but I will say her impact is well known throughout this community. She's the founder of Milwaukie Chat, the Facebook group. And that has just been such a valuable asset for our community, a forum for discussion. I think the nomination describes it pretty well. She created an online community that is frankly unmatched in regards to handling thoughtful discourse, respect for one another, and healthy boundaries. I'm so proud of her, and it's my hope that the rest of Milwaukie can agree that she's undoubtedly a volunteer we're celebrating and honoring in 2024. Aside from Milwaukie Chat, Amy has also created a group called Zip in a Mile, which is an online directory that helps promote some micro enterprises. Again, something that aligns with some work that we're now doing as a city around economic development. And I'm really excited to see she's her own business where she'll help transport people around town, especially looking at folks who maybe don't feel safe getting from one place to another. So a span of a bunch of different things. Amy's got a really impressive background.
And I will add, Amy did serve for a few years on our planning commission as well.
All right, yep.
I'd like to tell you a little bit about Rebecca Stainar and Colleen Rockwell. Let me start off with Rebecca. Rebecca is a very prominent and dedicated member of the Community Emergency Response Team, the CERT. And she's very involved in creating preparedness programs and designing disaster training drills. But not only is she, operationally doing those kind of things, she trains the new CERT members who come in those disaster preparedness tasks and that kind of thing. And many people are not aware that the CERT does a lot more than emergency preparedness. They do the traffic control for the umbrella parade. They run prescription turn-in and shredding events. They helped shepherd the vaccination events during the COVID pandemic. And so there's a lot of activity beyond emergency preparedness that the CERT is involved in. I really want to thank Sarah Yalen, who nominated Rebecca, because she said, Rebecca's humble, really doesn't look for a lot of attention, but she's one of those persons who's just in there doing things. And probably the most important thing that Sarah mentioned about Rebecca is I would trust her with my life during a disaster. So that says a lot. I would also like to talk about a name that may be familiar to Colleen Rockwell. Colleen is a longtime resident of Milwaukie. She's a proud Mustang. She's a graduate of Milwaukie High School. And so she's obviously invested in our community. She started the environmental committee in the Rotary Club back in 2023. And she organized all the environmental focused volunteer events for the Rotary Club. She's a master gardener. She's a real advocate of native plantings. And she helped start up the Pollinator Pathway program along Main Street and other areas around the city. That's been so successful that the good folks at the Beaverton Downtown Association have come over here and picked her brain because they want to emulate what we're doing here in Beaverton. And of course, she pushed this even further because she took the bull by the horn, so to speak, in the B-City USAA affiliation with the Zurich City Society. And so she's known beyond Milwaukee. If you want to check out the podcast Pollination, episode 272 on the Apple Podcast, you will hear Colleen talk about how Milwaukee became the second certified pollinator pathway in the state. So not only is she doing good work, she's promoting the good work of our city. She's just been very good about community engagement on these in these natural resources areas, and a real advocate of environmental stewardship.
Great, thank you very much. Mr. Wax?
Yeah, so thanks everyone. I think this way of doing things and bringing everybody to light has been great. And I know that the next step of this is going to be extremely difficult because they're all deserving. But Scott actually did share a link with you for all the nominations on the Ranked Choice website. I did want to let you know, and I know there was an interest in this in the past. You don't have to rank all of them for the system to work. You can rank 4 or 5 of your top, or you can rank all of them if you'd like to. It should still work in terms of choosing a winner. So yeah, I have on my screen here the results. So as you vote, I'll be able to see that. I think on your screen it should pop up after you vote as well, to kind of see where things are.
Let the voting begin.
Let the voting begin.
Yeah,
That's a
we do
really
need
good idea. I
Jeopardy
should've
music. We need some sort of, yeah.
Scott, do you have Jeopardy music?
Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Oh, darn, okay. I think I backed mine out, darn.
I think I have all 5. Is that right?
You got 5 votes in?
I think so.
Okay, because I was just trying to go back and look at mine and I thought I knocked them out, but,
No, it's all there.
okay,
So
okay,
I
cool.
will look at those. Let me take it. So. I have on here that winner is announced by the
Oh,
mayor.
I'm supposed to announce?
The mayor.
Oh, okay, sorry. It looks like our volunteer of the year is Pam Denham. But several other people got good, strong votes too. So, and I will say, I say this every year, I said it back when we were seeking nominations, this wasn't the first year Pam was nominated. There were a few people on this list who've been nominated before. We only get to acknowledge one, or occasionally a pair, but mostly one person a year. And so don't give up. If you nominated somebody and you feel they're deserving, we'll be doing this again next year. So come back and nominate them again. But congratulations to Pam, and Jason will take it from here, I'm sure, in terms of notifying her and And usually bring them back to another council meeting?
Yes.
Yeah,
We'll be back on May 6th.
Okay.
With Pam. Hopefully Pam can make it on May 6th.
6th, yeah.
I've never had someone not be able to make the meeting that we have scheduled.
Yeah.
So
She may have another commitment.
Yeah, she's busy.
very true. But my hope is we can, she can come back and say hello. Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank
once
you.
again.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing this and putting it all together. And I do feel like both the reading about them has been a good move, because I think a lot of people don't know who all they are. And the ranked choice voting, we're testing it out. So
It seems to work pretty
it
well.
seems to work pretty well. Yeah,
Scott has been appreciating it since he doesn't have to count the ballots and that sort of thing. So,
that's right. That's right. Some of these counselors don't remember when Scott had to count paper ballots. Yeah.
we always were worried about ties, which did happen a couple times. So
Scott knows a little something about ties.
really good. Nice job. That's a perfect way to end my.
Okay. With that, we will move on to community comments. This is the part of the agenda during which council will hear community comments on city business that is not on the agenda. Before we begin, is there a follow-up from the February 18th community comments, Ms. Sager?
There is, Mayor. We had a few people testify at the February 18th meeting. The first individual that I want to just give a response to was Steve Bennett, who also introduced our Women's History Month proclamation today. Steve was here last meeting to talk about the importance of conducting an inventory of historical assets in Milwaukie. He encouraged council to direct our planning team to make such an inventory a priority. I wanted to share that the inventory is on the planning work plan for the next sort of biennium. And so it is important work that we have slated to do. The prioritization of that, of course, can change if we get direction from council to change the priority of that work. Another person who spoke at our last meeting was Gene Monaco. He testified about his property at 4920 Southeast Lake Road. I followed up with some slightly more detailed responses to council via email, but just for the record, wanted to share some responses to Mr. Monaco's testimony. As he mentioned in his testimony, staff have had several interactions with Mr. Monaco about his property dating back to 2022. We really appreciate Gene's time coming here and meeting with staff. His property is currently in unincorporated Clackamas County, but he has filed paperwork to annex into the city and has held a pre-application conference with City of Milwaukie staff. Mr. Monaco shared a couple concerns when he testified in front of council. One is his understanding that a promise was made when Cheragino Farms developed that the stormwater facility constructed at that site would also accommodate future development on his and another neighbor's property. The city has not been provided documentation of any agreement that states that. And so we are unable to provide any assistance financially or otherwise without that documentation showing that agreement. He also raised concerns that the stormwater facility at Cheragino is not adequately sized for that development. It is our understanding that it is adequately sized for the Cheragino Farms development. Mr. Monaco has also shared some discussions that he says he has had with past city engineers about the right-of-way width that will be required for development on his site. We have, in our most recent pre-application meeting with Mr. Monaco and various correspondence, we've discussed the need to provide a 54-foot public right-of-way into his development. That is because with middle housing code that has been passed, the potential densification on his site could be such that it will require that right-of-way to meet the traffic that could be generated on that place. If in a previous conversation he was told something else that we believe would have been built based on a different design on the site, and again, unfortunately, we have not seen documentation of any discussion or agreement stating something otherwise. So again, while we really appreciate Mr. Monaco's frustrations, we've really tried to be helpful and responsive and supportive as he considers whether to annex to the city of Milwaukie. We have to provide consistent and fair standards.
and without documentation of previous agreements, were unable to provide city funds to support that development. So sorry, long answer, but there was a lot of information packed into that testimony. And finally, this wasn't a piece from February 18th, but we did get a email comment from the Downtown Alliance of Milwaukie and Andy Fisher requesting council consider a letter of support for a Main Street grant for the Rexall building. Just wanted to say that now. You might want to discuss that during your council reports. Yeah. Okay, I stop.
Thanks. Yeah, I do plan to discuss that either during council reports or the Milwaukie Redevelopment Commission. It seems like it could go either place, but thank you. All right. For those in person who wish to speak, please submit a yellow comment card found on the table at the side of chambers. I don't have any yellow cards. Mr. Stauffer, no? Do you have? Okay. Do you have anybody on Zoom who?
We do have a Zoom audience, a pretty healthy one tonight, but there are no hands raised. Might be worth it just to go through the
script?
instructions, yeah.
Okay. If you are on Zoom, use the raise hand reaction to alert staff that you wish to speak. And when instructed to, click the microphone button to unmute yourself. If you are calling in through Zoom and would like to make a comment, dial *9 to raise your hand. You may also submit a comment via email to ocr@milwaukieoregon.gov. Okay, I'm going to pause there before I go on with the rest of the script. If there's nobody indicating an interest in speaking, I'm not going to.
I see no hands raised on the list of folks in the audience there.
Yeah.
And I have no yellow cards.
Okay. All right. We will go on then to the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda includes minutes of the Milwaukie City Council January 31st, 2025 Council Retreat, February 1st, 2025 Council Retreat, and revised February 4th, 2025 work session. A resolution amending the Citizen Utility Advisory Board bylaws. A resolution appointing Nicholas Hess, Julie Garvey, and Ryan Lothar to the Planning Commission. A motion adopting the council's 2025 committee assignments. Does any council member wish to remove a consent agenda item? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. It passes unanimously. There's one of our new planning commissioners in the audience there, so thanks for coming. Okay. With that, we will move on to our quarterly budget review and adjustment, and I'll invite our Finance Director, Michael Osborne, and Assistant Finance, or is it a one-man show or a two-man show? Okay. And Assistant Finance Director, Matt Deeds, to come forward. Oh, I have a script to read anyway. Okay. The public hearing on the proposed budget adjustments adoption is called to order. The purpose of this hearing is to hear the staff report, take public comments, deliberate, and consider adopting the proposed budget adjustments. Does any council member wish to announce actual or potential conflicts of interest? Seeing none, I turn it over to the finance team.
Good evening, Council. Michael Osborne, the Finance Director, and I'm here with Matt Deeds, the Assistant Finance Director. And we have before you a budget transfer resolution. It's shown up on the screen here. This is coming to you for two reasons. One is last year when we prepared the biannual city budget, the city was still in contract negotiations with the ASME union on a new contract. At the time, we didn't know what that contract would be. and we didn't know what the cost of living expense would be during that time. Back last year, I tried to project what that increase would be, and I put in a contingency in the budget for that reason. So in this budget, I am moving 500,000 from the general fund contingency up to the department personnel services line item to capture the cost of living increase and some of benefits increase, PERS, and things like that that are included in there. This is for, the agreement that was reached in December of 2024 was for a 6% increase in year one, a 2% increase in year two, and then a 2% mid-year increase in year two. So this budget adjustment is capturing all that through the biennium. But I do want to say that at this time, we don't know what our healthcare benefits and what our PERS benefits are going to be. So when we get those numbers, I guess later this summer, we might have to make a little tweak to that to adjust the budget for those additional costs. In this budget, like I said, we're moving the 500,000 from general fund contingency, but we also have a little bit of a savings reduction in community development. At this time, we're not filling the community development position, so there's some savings in that, which is incorporated into the $500,000 contingency, which kind of lowers that number just a little bit. Also to keep in mind that we have a couple positions in the utility funds, the wastewater, stormwater, and transportation fund that have employees. So we're also, the money that we budgeted in there for contingency, we're also moving up to capture the COLA costs for those positions as well. The second reason that we're doing this budget transfer is for ARPA funds. At the end of last year, the city had roughly $603,000 in ARPA funds that we needed to obligate by 12/31/2024. The reasons we had those extra ARPA funds were that we had two projects that we were working on, Stanley Reservoir and North Ardenwald project. And both of those came in significantly under budget, which is an anomaly kind of in today's world. So thankfully, Kelly Tucker, our contract and procurement specialist, was able to kind of pivot and use these funds quick so that we could disperse them for other needs in the city. So we repurposed these funds for half of an FTE for the new emergency management coordinator that will be in the Public Works department. This will pay for 18 months of that position from 1/1/2025 through 6/30 of 2026. So 18 months of that position is funded with this. We also repurposed for 7 new additional police cars. The PD fleet is a little behind, and this kind of gave us a little bump into purchase 7 cars and kind of bring it up to date. We also made a second round of housing and utility assistance of $75,000. I believe this was with Northwest Housing Authority. We issued those payments at the end of December to help those in need. And then the final $50,000 was we did an after action plan I believe this was a year ago in Public Works, to recap kind of how we did in COVID during the wildfires and during the ice storm. We wanted to see how the city's response was and if there was any changes that we could make. And we were able to use the $50,000 kind of to pay back the city for the expense of that. Finally, these funds are being transferred. There's $327,000 that's being transferred from the water fund and $277,000 that's being transferred from the wastewater fund. When we originally captured these ARPA funds, we had put them into the water and wastewater fund, thinking that we were going to use them for these projects. But now that we're not, and we've reallocated them, This is just moving those from those utility funds to the general fund. So that kind of is a quick and fast recap of what this budget adjustment is. I'm open to any questions.
Anyone have questions for Michael? I'm not seeing any. Okay. Did we receive any correspondence on this matter?
I do not believe we have, no.
Oh, okay. Does anyone wish to comment on the proposed budget adjustments? I don't think anyone in the room is seeking to comment. Mr. Stoffer, any of the online people seeking to comment?
There are no hands raised in Zoom. Nope.
Okay, so I will forego the rest of that script. So there was no testimony to respond to. One last chance for council to ask questions. No questions? It was a pretty clear staff report. You did a good job. If there are no more questions, I will entertain a motion to close the public comment part of the hearing.
I move to close the public comment part of the budget adjustments hearing.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public comment part of the budget adjustments hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. The public comment part of the hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? Okay.
Awesome job.
Well, wait, we still have to vote. We still have to vote.
I feel a little presumptuous there.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing a budget supplemental for the 2025-26 biennium.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution authorizing a budget supplemental for the 2025-2026 biennium. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. None heard. It passes unanimously. Okay, now you can.
Thank you.
And I guess we'll have you back at the MRC meeting in a bit, but for now, we move on to council reports. I'm sorry?
Legislative priorities.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that's part of council reports, but yeah, legislative priorities. So I turn it over to Mr. Stoffer.
Thank you, Mayor Beatty. Good evening, council. Here to run through the legislative updates. The list from 2 weeks ago of bills that the city is tracking did grow by about 3. But the good news is, well, in one sense, the good news is there's not a lot of report on all the bills that we're tracking. So not a lot of updates, but we did grow the list a little bit. Just a reminder about key dates in the legislative session. We are in March now, so we're marching towards that April 9th first chamber deadline, but otherwise nothing else to say on the schedule.
Can I ask, is that, I heard March 21st is the first chamber deadline. Am I wrong about that?
So that's when you have to post a work session in your first committee in your first chamber. So
Okay.
about half the bills will die then.
Okay.
But that first chamber deadline is you then have to be not only voted out of committee, but voted out on the floor too.
Okay. Thank you.
So the list of legislation grouped by subject area. Councilor Massey had us tracking HB 2830 for building, but there was a hearing back in January, but nothing new on that. Nothing else to say. This is a new one and probably saw the most activity by council in the last 2 weeks. Mayor Beatty added a HB 3560 regarding childcare facilities, and Mayor Beatty sent a letter.
That I was joined by Councilor Kosrabati. Yeah, it's just supporting a more expansive rule about siting of childcare facilities. Yeah.
And when I checked, the last hearing was last week, so. Then Katie Gavaris added some clean energy bills. Neither have anything going on there. Continued at climate on that Senate bill there, nothing going on there. Mayor Beatty and the Metro mayors were tracking Senate Bill 473, and it had a hearing on February 11th, but I didn't say anything new on that. Nope.
No, not that I know.
Mayor Beatty is tracking HB 3187, discrimination, age discrimination, had a hearing on February 19th, but nothing new since that.
Right.
The bill on elections I'm watching has had nothing going, so there's that. Emergency resilience, HB 3170 added by Mayor Beatty. This might be a new one we've added in the last couple of weeks, and it had a work session earlier today. And then an employment bill, SB 916, has a works, Mayor Beatty and the League of Oregon Cities are tracking, giving employment benefits to striking employees, has a work session on Thursday.
Yep. And the, is that the end of the list or you
Nope.
got more? Oh, okay, okay. Because I was gonna say, I sent around stuff yesterday on a few utility related ones that are having hearings this week.
And I tried to add those.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Okay, great.
moving on, energy affordability. Yep, here they are. And these 3081 had a hearing today. 3179 and 3336 had hearings last week. The Power Act, HB 3546, has a hearing on Thursday as well. And then Senate Bill 88, Get the Junk Out of Rates, had a hearing yesterday. And SB 553 has not had any activity on it.
And so I would just say that, you know, these, several of these relate to our affordability goal. They're about changing PGE's rate structure so that residential ratepayers are not paying to subsidize some larger users, or in the case of the Get the Junk Out of Rates Act, paying to subsidize the energy companies, you know, lobbying and advertising and patting themselves on the back. So they do relate to our affordability goals. And so I just wanted people to be aware of them in case they wanted to submit their own letters on any of them, or testify in the case of the one that's still coming up on Thursday. So yeah, I sent around a couple of links about those hearings.
Do have I did put a letter together.
Oh, did you?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, because I was gonna send one to PGE prior to this, as you guys know. So I just kind of changed it a little bit, but maybe not enough, I don't know. But I did have a rough draft of one.
Do you want to send it around?
Sure.
I mean, how do you want to handle that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can send it to everybody. I just sent it to myself.
Okay, I mean, maybe we can take, I don't know, should we take a break so people have a chance to read it? Yeah, I don't know. What do people want to do?
Sorry, is the intention that we vote on this tonight?
If we want to submit it as a letter, I mean, he,
As a council.
absolute
together.
Counselor Kosherbani can submit it.
Yeah.
He doesn't need us, but I assume he's wanting to maybe submit it as a joint.
Well, yeah,
with
I thought that's what your email wanted.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. No, I was inviting that. I was just sort of hoping we would see him in advance, but.
Yeah, sorry, it was
yeah.
like so last minute. I actually forgot I had that letter.
Well, I was just going to suggest that if we're deciding on it tonight, that we maybe share it to the screen, because then people would be able to see what we're actually discussing and deciding upon.
Sure.
It is coming.
Can you
right
send
now.
it to Scott? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Scott.
And he can put it up on the
I'll
screen
send
for
it to
us.
Scott too.
Should we let Scott go through the rest of his list and then we can circle back to that? Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
those are the energy affordability ones there. 2135 regarding fences had a hearing about a month ago. Funding, HB 2411 and SB 5528 had hearings about a month ago and don't have anything new happening there. And then housing, 3031 and 2698 had hearings more recently, just last week or two, but nothing new on those. Anything to comment on those ones?
Nope, I don't have any, I mean, yeah.
Nope.
No, I don't really have anything.
Then the land use and measure 5 and 50 bills. The land use bills had action 2138, which we did have a council letter go out on.
I sent a letter today.
Yep.
I sat in the hearing yesterday. That's why I knew about the thing I told earlier about scattered sites, because it was also part of the same hearing. The governor's housing bill has dropped one edit, but there's a -1, but now there's a -2 coming. So it's not a final product yet. They say the new one will amend a couple things that people were upset about. They took some testimony yesterday and Mayor Buck made a really impassioned plea for how cities are just having to constantly do housing work with their planners and not getting anything else done and give us a break. And I picked up on his cue and wrote a letter making my case for that as well. And I sent that today. But they're still taking testimony until tomorrow, I believe, midday, if anybody else wants to submit any comments. The hearing was truncated. Rep Marsh cut it short because there were a number of people wanting to testify, but because there's going to be another bill, there's going to be another hearing in a few weeks. So that one's a couple weeks off, at least, I think, till the next hearing. I don't know if Counselor Anderson knows any more. I kind of think 2950 might be dead. I don't know, maybe before the next council meeting, Counselor Anderson could help us vet and just figure out what's dead and that we can take off this list. I also think those measures 5 and 50, I mean, they either will or won't happen, and I don't think we have to keep checking every week. So I think you can take them off this list in terms of presenting them every meeting, because they either will or won't happen.
Got it.
Yeah.
One bill that I might add to our housing tracker, 3644, House Bill 3644, is the governor's shelter program bill. And it would establish a statewide shelter program with regional coordination. And I think that this bill is one that, as we think about what the unsheltered homelessness population looks like in Clackamas County, would be interesting to track.
And do you have the bill number for Senator Meek's condo bill?
Condo bill, I can pull that up.
Okay, that's one I do think we want to follow, although it sounded like it was having some challenges. But anyway, thank you.
I can also start, just as we get to pass that April 6th deadline, so in about a month, I'll just start removing things that don't have any activity. The Notary Public Bill, HB 2951, had a hearing in the last couple of weeks. Then not a whole lot of activity on the records, things that I was tracking. The only thing that had a hearing as of late was 2533 about a month ago. So those are all probably going a certain way as well. And then transportation, similar story, not a lot going on. Most of those things, or any of those things in the last month. Urban growth, Mayor Beatty and the Metro Mayors, SB 9067, did have a work session yesterday.
Oh, I've lost track of that one. I have to look that one up. Okay.
Councilor Body, HB 2537, having to deal with low-income medical voucher program for veterans, nothing scheduled there.
Yeah, there's a hearing coming up next week, actually. The hearing was initially scheduled for February 13th, the snow day. I was supposed to go actually down there, but they canceled that day, so I think it's scheduled for next week sometime. I think I have to check the date, but I got some info on that.
Okay. And then Councilor Massey and the LOC were tracking some water use and water operator legislation, but I never found anything for that legislative concept. And so nothing there. And then letters. So just noting the letters we've mentioned, the mayor has sent a couple and Councilor Body is working on one. So if you'd like me to switch and I'll stop sharing and try to find that letter.
I will say Scott does an excellent and fast job of turning your letters. You just do the body and he'll take care of making it look nice and getting it ready for you to submit. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think so, because my letter looks like trash.
Happy to do it. It cures my OCD of having to make everything look right. Let's see. I got the letter here. Let me get it pulled up. That's the right one. Okay. And I will zoom in. So
Zoom in a little bit. Okay.
So I'll have to make it a little bit So maybe give me a nod when you're ready for me to move on to the next set of paragraphs.
Oh, HB 3460 hearing is on 11 March.
3460?
Yeah, but that's not the same as the veteran one I had up there, sorry. It's one that has to do with veterans, but it's.
You want to add it to the list?
Yeah. Please.
Okay, I think you can go ahead and
Scroll down.
scroll a little bit, yeah. Okay. So this is a good general letter about PGE rates, but is the hearing, now I'm trying to remember. Is the hearing about it's about the data centers, right? And we don't really talk.
SB 88 is about to get the junk out of the face.
Oh, it is. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
But I mean, I just took what I was gonna submit to PGE individually and just kind of try to rework it to fit SB 88 in a way. But again, and we can edit whatever we want, or if you guys don't feel like signing on to anything for that specific one, I'll send this one individually. It's fine.
I think since the state has 2 other utility companies that will provide services, I kind of like trying to make it a bit more general to utility companies and more germane to the bill itself about all the junk in the rates. And like, I think there's a strong argument to be made for like, you should not be paying for a lobbyist with money that ratepayers are putting in. But I also don't, if we're going to go line by line, adding small edits, I don't want to stop you from submitting what could be really good testimony. So I don't want you to.
I mean, unless you guys want to do it tonight, if you guys want to do it after the meeting, and then I can then send it to me, and I can submit it in the morning.
Yeah, I think Justin would
Oh, really?
object to us sending comments after the meeting.
Not to each other, just mark on the
Oh.
thing in red, and then I'll make the edits.
I think if we were to go down that route, then I think we'd have to get general approval for the
Yeah.
content. And if it's just a minor wordsmithing, that might be one thing. But council needs to, like, as a group, need to agree that this is the words you generally agree with, give or take.
Yeah, so I was going to say something kind of similar to Council President Anderson. I think this is really good individual testimony, but I think that I think it's an adaptation to the actual bill that might need a little bit more tweaking, and so I don't want to slow you down in sending your thoughts on this. And I think the general sentiment definitely, resonates. But I'd really appreciate like an opportunity to read through and wordsmith it a little bit more and do a bit more research. So I don't know if I could have that done by tomorrow morning. So I think that you should send your letter. I mean, certainly like, anybody who else wants to sign on could totally do that. But I would need like a little bit more time to read through it myself.
Yeah, and just to, this was originally intended to go straight to PGE. But when she sent that email, I just figured maybe this could be sent to the legislator too. But I get it because it's an overall, in general about the rates. It doesn't say anything specific to what SB 88 talks about. So, I can just send it individually. If you guys want, it's fine.
One thing that I think of, the good thing is all of these bills, and I think it's 3 that will likely be moving here, will be heard in the other chamber. And I think what might be helpful is if we as a city put together some general statement about challenges Milwaukeeans have faced with utilities, and then we could have a paragraph about each of the bills that we can just plug and play for each different bill. And we could
That's
submit
good, isn't it?
like that letter for each of these 3 different bills or however many bills we want, where we have something generic, Milwaukeeans face high costs. We're working on affordability, and then something specific to the bill. But I think it's also valuable. One, I think it's good to comment on these in the second chamber so it continues to get momentum. But 2, I think for our citizens, I think it's valuable to maybe show that statement about utility costs and the advocacy we're doing, to show like this is where you can plug into the utility conversation. These are some bills that we think will impact you. Because it's often, even if these bills all pass, I think a lot of people would say what's happening with utilities. And it's good to show them what work we're advocating for and the state's doing.
Cool. So are you volunteering to help write that letter? You work with Counselor Khosrowbadi?
Thank God 2 is not a quorum. Yeah, I'll meet with Councilor Khosrowbadi and we'll get something done. And if you
Okay.
look at that schedule that Scott had, we've got a little bit of time, Adam. So we can sit down and find some time.
When I do say, I mean, the Get the Junk Out of Rates had its hearing yesterday. Thursday is the data centers. So if anybody wants to send their own message on data centers, that hearing is Thursday.
So was today the cutoff for SB 88 then, for written testimony?
You can still submit testimony 24 hours afterwards. So if you look, you can still submit the button.
Okay.
Or click the button to submit. The thing I will say, for your sake, Councilor Khosrowbadi, that utility rate bill that Rep. Marsh is introducing is really looking at the fact that consumers have been subsidizing large corporations like Amazon and Facebook who are moving data centers into Oregon.
Yeah.
And it's consumers who are picking up the bill for that.
Yeah,
And
that's
so I think
that's
that's a
how they
good,
go, right?
yeah. I think you would enjoy some rhetorical flourish on that one.
Well, thank you.
For it. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, so we're not submitting a group letter this week, but you guys will come back with a plug and play approach to the utility affordability going forward. I like it. Anyone else have bills they want to talk about or letters they want to present?
Just real quick about this, because I'm going to send that letter. Can you still make it look pretty?
Yeah, is that, I absolutely can. Is that the text you want? Is that ready to go? Otherwise, for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Probably first thing in the morning.
Yeah, or, no, because that's for SB 8. That one's for specific for SB 88. Or I guess it could apply to any of them.
Yeah, I doubt, I don't want to opine about when the link council president
I'll
would
try to
know
submit
that
it
far
tonight for
better.
SB 88. We can get it tonight.
Okay.
That was all the legislation updates I had.
Okay, it looked like Counselor Savage was about to say something.
Not about legislation, I just had a council report.
Oh, okay, well, let's
I can
close
wait.
out legislation first.
One last legislation piece. I sent an email to everyone, including you, Scott, with 3 other veterans and housing related bills that I think might be valuable to track. So if we can add those to the list, that'd be great.
Great. Okay, with that, I will, and I've done something crazy to my, okay, I will turn it over to Counselor Savage.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to share a report on the MRC, which is the Milwaukie Redevelopment Commission Community Advisory Committee. We met last week, and it's a little bit of a refreshed group. We had 3 new members who joined us, Jason, Cliff, and Emma. And I know they're watching from home, so I just want to say thank you for joining us and being a part of the committee. We decided that the group was going to try and meet on a regular quarterly basis. It had been kind of like ad hoc in the past, just based on the amount of work that they were doing and moving certain forms and tools forward. But having some consistency, we think will serve to better align with some of the emerging work of the 2 business groups that are working in Milwaukie, and we want to definitely be able to work a little bit more closely with them. So that was decided, and then Joseph was kind enough to share some information about the grants. So if council remembers, we had started a small grant program for local businesses in the URA, which is not just downtown, but the arterials that run up to the Milwaukie marketplace as well. And so 10 grants have been awarded for that program. Pretty impressive. Total funds amount of $328,455 dollars. I just got so excited. I wanted to say dollars first. So I think that's really impressive. And when you look at the breadth of the applications, the location of the businesses, the organizations that are benefiting from all of this downtown and within the marketplace, the URA is really starting to thrive. There are 2 more applications, I believe, that are in process, that have been submitted and are going through the approval process. So we'll have updated numbers hopefully soon. And then I also just wanted to put a plug for the hiring process for the Economic Development Coordinator. So they've gone through, I think, 3 rounds now. Final round this week, and we're gonna have a brand new Milwaukie Team Goose member working on economic development and connecting more closely with the Community Advisory Committee, the grantees, working with businesses around the city, and having a general great time. So anyway, I just wanted to share that update because you don't hear much about the MRC outside of, a meeting that we're gonna have after this. But we had a great conversation, really excited to see the 3 new members just jumping in. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Emma would
I
like.
have just a really super quick thing to follow up on because Councillor Stavanger had said that one of the new members' names was Emma, and it's actually Emily Sager, not Emma Sager. You easily confused. No, my doppelganger, I guess, name doppelganger.
Although I've never seen both of you in the same room. So say what you will, Emma. Thank you.
So should we use that as a segue to talk about the request we got from Andy Fisher for a letter, or should we save that and discuss it in the MRC hearing? Any?
I would say let's highlight it now for those that are riveted at home. And then if they want to tune in for the continuation of this meeting when we adjourn and go into the MRC meeting, then we can go into the meat of it then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we will do that. So our Downtown Association of Milwaukie, one of the 2 business associations in town, asked for a letter of support from council for a grant application that one business owner is seeking to put in, and we will discuss that at our next meeting in just a few minutes. If any other council reports?
Yes.
Okay.
I had a chamber meeting today, and most of the chamber meeting was discussing legislative bills that the chamber is either going to get behind or oppose. I'll go through some of them now. The SB 707, which is a CAT tax exemption, the corporate activity tax exemption for rural communities for pharmaceuticals. So the pharmaceutical purchases, they wouldn't have to pay that tax. They're behind that one, but they actually want that one to be statewide, not just for the rural communities, but they should make that statewide for everyone. SB 125, which is a CAT tax exemption again, that would make payments received for healthcare services not taxed by CAT. That one is obviously they're okay with. They're behind that one as well. SB 916, that's the strikers, employees that go on strike get unemployment. Also, they get healthcare benefits and all the benefits that they have. That is one that they're opposing. HB 3140, I think that's the recreational immunity one. That was the liability waiver one, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, they're behind that. apparently there is a study that's going to be conducted in that looks at the climate impact on the insurance market as well. HB 2977 is a transient room tax. That one is currently at 1%. I guess the proposal is to increase it to 2.5%, with that increase going to Recovering Oregon's Wildlife Fund sub-account. And everyone in there was a little bit kind of unsure what exactly Oregon's Wildlife Fund sub-account was. So they're actually, a lot of these are sponsored by Senator Mark Meek, so they are looking for a time to be able to discuss these with him and get some clarity on some of these. SB 394 is a 10-year CAT tax transfers to PERS. That one they are not fans of. Also, April 16th, Mayor, there's a State of the North Clackamas Chamber. There's a mayor's panel that's going to be held at Camp Withicum. They haven't given a time yet, but they said that you'd be there, so.
I'm signed up for that, yes.
And then May 8th is Chamber Day at the Capitol. So the Chamber will be going down to the Capitol and doing their thing, kind of like how we did LOC. And that's pretty much all we really talked about was those bills in particular, and then the state of the Chamber and the Chamber Day at the Capitol.
Great, thank you. All right, any other council reports?
Yep.
Right. Oh, okay.
Sorry. Just wanted to report, Mayor, I don't know if I'm stealing yours, but we met last week with Michael from Sonaglow and discussed the possibility of a public-private partnership with the city. I think we're going to revisit this when we talk about our parks and green space scoping for the next few years, but the possibility of maybe having a sauna located on Elk Rock Island or some type of natural space. I think it's something for longer discussion, but it was certainly an interesting meeting. And I love to see that not only is Sonaglow doing so well that they're thinking about opening a second business or a second location, but they're thinking about doing that here in Milwaukie. So like Councilor Stavenberg was saying, huge kudos to the work our staff have been doing to make this a business-friendly environment. Anything to add there, Mayor?
I do have something to add, which is, it was a very interesting meeting, but since that meeting, because Michael was very excited about, what's the next for Sonaglow and expanding, I hear that we're going to get another sauna in the, near the King Road Safeway. You don't know about that. Okay, I've heard that there's another sauna coming in, so maybe Milwaukee's going to be a sauna destination.
Bee City.
And I'm told that, no, yeah, it is a different, but I'm told that Michael knows about it and he didn't mention it at all when we met with him, but anyway.
Sauna City, USA. Other piece of council report that I have for you all, a little bit of homework. TSP, I've been diligently attending. There's some really exciting work, a lot of maps. If you pull up the city's website right now, you can see a place where you can submit feedback to some of the TSP's work so far. We've got Jennifer and Laura coming to council. I hope they're both coming after I commit them to this. Not this council meeting, but the next one in mid-March to talk about the TSP. I will say the Engage survey does a really good job of breaking down what work has been done so far on maps. And so it will be a helpful explainer to y'all ahead of doing this. And for members of the public who are watching, I would encourage you to hop on this Engage as well. It's really valuable to get your feedback. What these maps represent is the areas where conditions are not what we would hope for as a city. We're trying to really make sure that we are accessible. And if you look at some of these facilities or maps of our existing facilities, if you look at our sidewalks or our bike facilities, it's as if we've got so many gaps, it really is unnavigable, the length of our city. And so we're trying to address this while looking at certain priority designations or priority areas. Is it close to a school, a grocery store, some type of commercial activity? All of that to say, these maps represent your lived experiences. So filling this out is very helpful. And for our counselors to think through, I think the challenge or the piece of homework is, do these maps represent areas that you think are appropriate to focus on? One, and do they capture the existing conditions that you experience. If you're, the example they give, a 10-year-old child going along, would you feel comfortable biking along this road? Would you feel comfortable crossing the street? If you have a 10-year-old kid, would you send them off to go to the grocery store along this route? So take a look at this. We'll have a council packet full of some stuff as well. And I'm really excited about that TSP conversation.
And so for people watching out there who go Engage, what's that? There's an Engage Milwaukie site where you can find the TSP and often other interesting things going on around town, surveys to take, or just informational things. And the website is engage.milwaukeeoregon.gov. So yeah, check out the Engage website and look for the TSP survey. Okay. More council reports? Nope, okay. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, right?
My apologies, Mayor, just one thing Scott and I have been chatting about. I know you wanted to discuss the letter in the MRC meeting, but you would then be discussing it as the MRC, which then you'd be probably sending the letter as the MRC. I do know that Joseph sent a letter today as the executive director of the MRC. Maybe I'm looking at you. Do you think that they should send it as the MRC or as council? Letters. We're probably overthinking this. I'm trying to wear my Justin hat because he's gone tonight. But if you wanted to discuss that now, if you were interested in sending the letter as the City Council of Milwaukie, I would suggest having that discussion during the City Council meeting.
Well, okay, we may as well. It's not like we have a letter text to discuss. What we have is a request to send a letter in support. And what I was going to propose is that we designate two people, and I'm happy to be one of them, or I'm happy to not be one of them, as whichever, who would be delegated the nod to draft a letter on behalf of all of us. I don't think it has to be a super long letter or super detailed letter, but the issue is that their grant application for renovation for this state grant is due by March 13th. So it's due before our next meeting. We don't have the opportunity to come back next meeting and discuss the letter. So is everyone supportive of supporting this grant? And so let's start there. Does anyone have any concerns about supporting this grant application?
What's the grant for? I don't even.
Well, you got it. Okay. There was an email and a slideshow from the Downtown Association of Milwaukie, forwarded by Scott. The Antique Mall building, which they're calling the Rexall building, it was a pharmacy. I told them I always heard it referred to as Perry's Pharmacy, but whatever. The building, there is a state grant fund, it's through the State Parks Department actually, but it's the part of the Parks Department that does historic preservation work. And there's a grant fund to help with renovation of old buildings or preservation of older buildings. They have, okay. Well, I'll just say it for everyone else. They have a project of almost $600,000 to put a new roof, HVAC, and other work to preserve that building. I believe this grant caps out at 200,000 or maybe 300,000. So they're not, they have to match it. But I think it'd be great if we supported them in their endeavors here, and it sounds like Joseph already has. Okay. Anyone have any concerns about supporting the grant request? Not seeing any. Okay. Anyone have any interest in working on a letter in support of the grant request?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anyone want to work on it?
Yeah.
I operate a business downtown, so I'd prefer somebody else on council run
Okay.
the writing of the letter.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to do that. Okay, so does council delegate the writing and submission of a letter to Councilor Kosherbati and myself, accepting that we can't bring it back in 2 weeks? I mean, we can share it with you once it's done, obviously, but we can't take comment or anything. Is that okay? Doesn't give anybody heartburn.
I'll be nice, I promise. I'll be nice.
Don't call out PGE in this one.
We use every, okay, am I getting nods all around? Okay, I'm gonna take that as agreement. So we'll do a letter, okay. All right. All right, with that out of the way, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Adjourn as the city council, and we will be meeting immediately afterwards as the Milwaukie Redevelopment Commission.
I move to adjourn as the Milwaukie City Council and immediately reconvene as the Redevelopment Commission.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn as the Milwaukie City Council. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None heard. We are adjourned. Okay. Now, if you are on YouTube and you want to watch the tuned, because we're just going straight through, I call the Redevelopment Commission meeting to order. This meeting is being conducted in person at City Hall and by video conference. The public may participate in this meeting by coming to City Hall, joining the Zoom webinar, or watching on the city's YouTube channel or Comcast Cable Channel 30 within city limits. There will be opportunities for the public to speak. Mr. Stoffer, are there public still online?
We do have a Zoom audience, yep.
Okay, then I will read. Okay. There will be opportunities for the public to speak during the public hearing. If you would like to address the commission, you may come to City Hall. If you are interested in speaking, please let staff know by emailing ocr@milwaukieoregon.gov, or for those on Zoom, when it's time to take public comments, staff will monitor the comment cards, email inbox, the Zoom participant list, and chat. We will take comments in the order they are received and seen. I'm not going to read the Spanish translation services part. Okay. Is there any discussion about the September 17th, 2024 commission minutes? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the September 17th, 2024 Redevelopment Commission meeting minutes.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the September 17th, 2024 Redevelopment Commission meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. None heard. The minutes are unanimously approved. All right, the quarterly MRC budget review, introduced by Finance Director Michael Osborne.
Yep. Good evening again. I'm here to talk about the MRC budget. We are doing a proposed reallocation. We're not increasing the budget of the MRC. Last year, when we went through and did the MRC budget, we didn't anticipate any salaries in that. We had salaries, or for our personal services budget, we had zero. Tonight, we are looking to transfer or reallocate $480,000 of capital outlay to personal services budget. This is to cover portions of three positions in the city. One is for 25% of Joseph Briglio's time. This will cover his salary and benefit costs. Two, we want to cover 100% of the upcoming economic development coordinator, who is soon to be hired, 100% of their salary and benefit costs, and then 50% of the parks coordinator. These all will be City of Milwaukie employees that we're just allocating a portion of their costs to the URA. So we're including this into the salaries portion so that we have a line item to expense it from. In doing this, we are reducing the capital outlay budget from $5.182 million, $5,182,000 to $4,702,000. And while we are reducing the capital budget just as an offset for this, we're going to continue to monitor the capital improvements in the URA. And if at some point there's a time where we come up against the capital outlay budget, we can reconvene and find opportunities to increase the budget at that time. But for this time, we're just looking to reallocate from capital outlay to personnel services. Does that make sense? Or any questions?
So that 480 is, that's what that 480 is covering?
Yes.
Is all those, okay.
Yes. Joseph does a ton of work for the MRC, and we just want to capture 25% of his costs coming out of the MRC budget.
Can I just clarify, the MRC budget biannually, the revenues coming in is about 1.7 million biannually, looking at the approved city budget?
We're checking.
Okay. And I guess I asked that. Yes.
It should inch up, yeah, year to year, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But part of what I think is when we have a budget conversation, it's not necessarily for this, I'm blanking on the word, reapportionment?
Reallocation.
Reallocate, not for this reallocation, but in our next biennium. I think it's fair to think about what is our parks goal, what is our economic development goal, and what reoccurring costs like personnel services are balanced in the budget as well.
Yes.
Because I'd be curious how much larger that 480K is over the entirety of a biennium. And just thinking about what percent of our budget are we annually allocating to personnel services versus capital improvements is just something that I think about. But for this, I think it's fine to do this reallocation.
And just to be clear, we're reallocating for this through the rest of this biennium. So it's about 18 months worth.
Can you explain a little bit? So I had two procedural questions, not substantive questions. I thought the staff report was clear and I'm fine with the reallocation, but I want to understand the procedural things. First off, in the council meeting, we had a script and motions and a formalized thing, and here we have just, boom, it's done. What's the difference?
So I am fresh from the OGFOA conference in Seaside, and I asked that question just for clarification. The difference is in the others, we were moving money from fund to fund. We moved some money from general fund to wastewater fund and water fund. In this, it's all, we're not changing the bottom line of the fund. The budget is still the same. We're just reallocating the portions of money within it. So it's a net of zero.
Okay, because it's a single fund.
Yes.
Okay.
Michael really helpfully, when he put the staff report together, pointed out that if you look at the resolution that adopted the MRC budget, it's got appropriations. It has a program money, 6.8 million, and then unappropriated money, 2.4 million. Because everything we're doing right now is just within that 6.8, it's just kind of moving line items. It doesn't actually require a formal action. We're really just updating you to keep you apprised as the body. As Michael said, if say we get in further into the biennium and we come back with the capital budget for the Main Street improvement projects, and it's higher than what we have left in the capital budget, then we might come back to you with an ask to tap into those unappropriated funds, and that would require, I think, a resolution, an action for you to take. But because this is all in money you've already appropriated, we're just kind of daylighting how we're going to spend it.
Okay. And then the second question was the trigger for when, I think it was in one of your staff reports that it's 15% is the trigger for, what's the difference between a budget adjustment and a supplemental budget? Is that right?
Correct. If it's anything over 15% of the total fund, then you need to go public and post, do a public notice process. But in cases of most, I would say, in the case of the one that we just did, that was much lower than 15%, so we didn't have to. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I think it's a portion of what portion of the fund are you doing? Big adjustments, they want more public hearing on this, and I think 15% is that threshold.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Counselor Stavanger.
Thank you. Excuse me. Just a couple questions. Is there a cap percentage on personnel services across the whole, redevelopment fund? Do you have a certain amount that you can only spend, like only up to this amount on personnel services?
Not that I'm aware of. I know that there's a 4% admin cost.
Okay.
So that means like if we have, for example, the economic development coordinator, 100% of their time can be charged to that. But we do a lot of admin fees. Like we have a payroll person that does their payroll. We have HR that does their benefits. We can include for their time, but only up to 4% of that. We can't go over 4% to kind of, we can't deplete the fund for admin purposes.
Okay.
So they have a cap
Interesting.
on that.
And so this doesn't put us in danger of getting close to that?
No.
Okay.
At the conference I was at earlier this week, I checked in with a couple URA experts and they were fine with this.
Okay. And then just one other question. Do you think, so we would be making a decision about this reallocation for the biennium, but assuming that this is the direction, like it's in line with our goals, it's in line with the build out of the URA, assuming that this becomes an ongoing expense for personnel, those personnel positions are going to experience cost of living adjustments, step increases, all of those sorts of things. Do we anticipate that the growth of the fund is enough to be able to cover or at least keep in line with those like enhanced needs within the fund?
The short answer is as we go through and do our biennial budget for the number of FTEs, I mean, I will look at that to make sure that we have enough. For right now, this is about 2 FTEs total. There's more than enough in the fund to support this, but
Okay.
if it wants to grow, I mean, we can look at that during the budget cycle and look and budget for that. I think it's just what you all want to do and what you see the vision for.
Okay. Yeah, that's
But
helpful.
I think there's more than enough right now.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of understand the scale and if that growth pattern that, that we have for personnel in general is something that would be covered. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Michael? All right, there's not really an action for us to take as
Nope.
noted, so
Thank
we
you.
thank you.
I can leave now, right?
I think you can. And then I'll turn it over to Emma and Joseph as to any further MRC reports they might have to give.
I think Counselor Stavanger stole Joey B's thunder with her council reports. No, it was great. I think you covered everything. So Joseph, unless there's anything else you want to say, MRC met. Joseph is killing it on the business improvement grants. It's so exciting to see those going out. And I think the MRC is excited to, look at that 5-year action plan with some fresh eyes, not change it, but kind of talk about, okay, now that the grant program is so, I know you're like, dang it, girl. Yeah, but I think that, it's an exciting time with council having set an economic development goal, and I think the MRC is energized. Joseph, what else do you want to say?
No, you both are doing great tonight. Fantastic. I'm not going to
Credit for your work, yeah.
You covered it. Thank you to the chair of MRCAC, Councilor Stavenjord, and to our city manager. Thanks. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them, but I covered, you guys all covered.
Any questions?
We'll ask Councilor Stavenjord.
Okay, yeah. No, you're fine with, it sounds like you did a letter for the downtown application, the grant application, and so you're fine with us doing a letter as
Absolutely.
well.
I would encourage it. The, grant applications are, having letters is fantastic, show of support. They don't have to be full of details, but at least showing that you know what they're doing, you're excited about it. I think it means a lot, even if they don't get awarded anything, but at least it shows that we really care and are there to support them, so.
They better award, because if you look at their list of awardees, it's a lot of the same cities
I
over and
know.
over again. So
Yeah.
Milwaukee hasn't been drinking from that well, and they better give us help.
And
Put that in the letter.
the one other update we should probably talk about is just, since we did talk about how we're taking money out of the capital fund, we are still doing capital improvements in the downtown area, including right now. We know it's putting a strain on some of our downtown businesses, but it's for a really important purpose. We're doing our downtown curb and stormwater improvements in front of that block, actually, which will make that stretch of sidewalk dramatically more accessible, reduce some impacts, and improve our stormwater.
Yeah, if it's helpful too, because I do speak a little bit about that to my letter of support to Jordan and the property owner there. I'm happy to have Emma or myself share that letter with you if you want to use any of it. Don't judge it too harshly. I did it within 15 minutes tonight, trying to get as much as I could done, but feel free. Yeah.
That'd be great.
All right, you got it.
Okay.
I just have one question. With that street kind of shut down right now, have any businesses come up and like express any loss of revenue or potential loss of revenue? And is there any plans to help them recoup that loss?
All those businesses have received grants.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah, so that's one thing, but yes, we've heard concerns. The contractor and our engineering staff are actually trying to reduce the amount of parking that's going to be occupied during this time.
Oh.
Just recently, we were talking as recently as yesterday about making sure as they finish up some of the right-of-way work on Main Street that the parking spots in front of Good Measure are available. So they are aware. They're trying to do their best. There are signs out there. I believe both the side streets are complete, so they won't see any impacts there anymore or getting close to finishing up. So it's just really that block that we're talking about tonight, actually, that Antique Mall and those trees. Yeah.
And we've tried to get the word out on social media to tell people businesses are still open, but if you all want to help, you can amplify that message and get folks out to those businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Anything else for the MRC? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move to adjourn the commission meeting.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the Milwaukie Redevelopment Commission meeting. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, no. None heard. We are adjourned.
I'm going to take a pose.